If there's one moment in life where you hope everything is perfect, it's your wedding day. But for me, 28-year-old Josh, it was a day that would reveal the darkest side of love and betrayal. My fiancée, Lydia, 27, and I had been together for nearly a decade. I thought she was my forever. We had shared everything, dreams, heartbreaks, laughter. I had trusted her with my whole heart. But as the wedding drew closer, cracks in that perfect picture began to appear. It started subtly. Lydia would go on more work trips than usual, each time with vague details about her itinerary. She'd excuse herself from dinners or family gatherings to take urgent calls, always stepping out of earshot. She was glued to her phone more than ever, quickly tilting the screen away whenever I glanced over. At first, I chalked it up to wedding stress. But a gut feeling gnawed at me. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself it was nothing. After all, we were just weeks away from becoming husband and wife. But one night, my curiosity got the better of me, and that's when I uncovered the truth. She had left her phone on the table while she was in the shower, and a notification popped up from someone named E. With a quick glance, my heart dropped. The message was far from innocent. It was intimate, with a tone that clearly crossed the boundaries of friendship. I felt the blood drain from my face as I read more. There were months' worth of messages that painted a horrifying picture. She had been seeing someone else, a guy named Eric. And it wasn't just some fling, the messages spoke of their deep connection and the times they'd shared while she claimed to be on business trips. In that moment, I wanted to confront her, to scream, to ask how she could betray everything we'd built. But then, a different idea started forming in my mind. If she was capable of lying to me like this, hiding such a huge part of her life, maybe I needed to do something equally shocking. I was hurt, but I didn't want her to walk away thinking she had gotten away with it. So I made a plan, one that would ensure she understood the pain she had caused. Instead of confronting Lydia right away, I decided to play along. I smiled through the pain, continued with wedding preparations, and acted like everything was fine. Every moment we spent together hurt, knowing what I knew, but I was determined to carry out my plan. I wanted to reveal her betrayal in a way she'd never forget. I wanted her to understand, in the most public way possible, what her actions had done to me. And with the wedding coming up, I had the perfect opportunity. I tracked down Eric through some careful social media stalking. It wasn't hard to find him. There were photos of him and Lydia together at various work events, always looking a little too close for comfort. He was around our age, and judging by his enthusiastic posts about Lydia, he seemed to have no idea that she was about to get married. I reached out to him under the pretense of being a friend of Lydia's who was organizing a special surprise for the wedding. I told him she'd love it if he could be there to support her on her big day. Surprisingly, he agreed immediately, saying he wouldn't miss it for the world. The irony was almost too much. As the days passed, the anticipation built. I'd see Lydia chatting excitedly with her bridesmaids, planning every detail of the wedding down to the flowers and color scheme. All the while, I kept my emotions in check, acting the part of the doting fiancé, all while knowing what I was about to do. Finally, the wedding day arrived. The setting was beautiful, an outdoor venue with blooming flowers, the sun shining, and everyone dressed to the nines. Lydia looked stunning in her dress, the picture of a perfect bride. But all I could see was the betrayal underneath. When Eric arrived, I almost laughed at the irony. There he was, dressed up, looking genuinely happy to be there. He had no idea what was about to go down. I watched as Lydia noticed him, her eyes widening slightly before she quickly looked away. I knew she was trying to act like nothing was wrong, hoping no one else noticed. But the tension was palpable. We made it through the ceremony, every vow she uttered feeling like a stab in my heart. I could barely look her in the eye as she spoke of love, trust, and forever. She had no idea I'd already seen her lies and deceit. Then came the reception. I bided my time, waiting for the perfect moment to drop the bomb. Everyone was having a great time, laughing, dancing, and celebrating what they thought was a fairy tale love story. But little did they know, the story was far from a fairy tale. When it was my turn to make a speech, I took the microphone, heart pounding, but face calm. Lydia looked at me expectantly, waiting for some heartfelt declaration of love. But instead, I addressed the crowd with a different tone. "Thank you all for being here to celebrate this day with us," I began. "Lydia and I have shared a lot over the years, and I thought today, I'd share a little more than usual. I paused, letting the words sink in. I could see Lydia's face go pale, confusion and fear creeping in as she realized this wasn't going to be the typical groom's speech. There's someone here today who deserves a special mention, I continued, gesturing toward Eric. Someone who's been there for Lydia through thick and thin. Eric, why don't you stand up? The room fell silent as Eric awkwardly stood, clearly uncomfortable but not yet understanding where this was going. Eric, I said, voice steady, I want to thank you for being such a close friend to my bride. In fact, you've been closer to her than anyone here could possibly know. Gasps filled the room as the truth began to dawn on people. Lydia looked as if she might faint, her eyes darting around, desperate for an escape. I continued, calmly, laying out the timeline, the late nights, the business trips, and the text messages. I spared no detail, making sure everyone knew exactly what had been happening behind the scenes. Lydia tried to interject, to claim it was a misunderstanding, but it was too late. The truth was out, and there was no taking it back. Her family looked horrified, her father visibly furious, while Eric looked like he wished he could disappear. I ended the speech with a simple statement. I thought I'd be starting my life with someone who valued honesty and commitment. Instead, I found someone who chose lies and betrayal. So, Lydia, thank you for this lesson. And to everyone here, thank you for witnessing the truth. The fallout was immediate. Lydia's parents, who had adored me, were devastated, glaring at their daughter as if she were a stranger. Her mother was crying, and her father demanded to speak to Eric outside. Meanwhile, guests whispered among themselves, no one quite sure how to process what had just happened. Lydia tried to reach out to me, tears streaming down her face, begging me to forgive her, but I just walked away, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions.